everyone. It's Adriana Monique Alvarez, and I'm so excited to be back with our So Much More Stories series. And today we have Alicia Cramer with us. Hi, Alicia. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, first off, tell us where in the world you're joining from.
I am in Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona. And I got a soft spot for Tucson. That's where Derek and I met. So, I'm so excited to have you on. And I just want to remind everyone, we're doing this series to make space for stories. In our society, we used to gather around the fire, we used to gather around the dinner table. Now we gather around our phones. And so I wanted to create a space where we could hear stories. Number one, it helps us see ourselves and others. It helps us realize that we have more in common than not. And I find every time I hear someone's story, it really moves me to share even more of myself. And that's what my whole philosophy and aim is if we can get beyond business, if we can get beyond information and really go, these are the things, these are the experiences that matter to me. So, Alicia, how do most people know you as?
Most people know me as a business mindset coach.
And yet I know that you are so much more. Is there anyone you want to dedicate this story to today?
I do. I want to dedicate this story to my two children with special emphasis on my first, Eden, who is sort of the catalyst for what I'm going to share.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you to share your story.
Awesome. So this is something that not a lot of people have heard, including some of my private clients. And it is what sort of got me into hypnosis and becoming a hypnotherapist. So it's not unknown that I had a difficult childhood. That part a lot of people have heard about. But how hypnosis has entered my life at multiple points in really like synchronistic ways is an interesting story that sometimes even when I think back on it, I'm like, that's amazing, right? The universe is incredible. So we've all had like these synchronicities and things have this weird way of like playing out and sort of circling back around. And when I was about 10, like reality really started to hit for me. I was living with my mom and her boyfriend, now husband, on a dairy farm. They were workaholics. They were both alcoholics, still are to this day. Had a lot of anger and negativity. I didn't have any siblings, so I was like always alone, and I felt just sad all the time. But the violence and the fights and all of the drinking was starting to take its toll on me. And I started going to the school guidance counselor just to talk, just to let it out. That became like my sanctuary at school. I think I had probably the most like permissive absences to classes out of like anyone else because I was the troubled kid, not the troublesome kid, the troubled kid. And my guidance counselor gave me a cassette tape. It was Hypnosis for Children of Alcoholics.
Wow.
And I would listen to it to relax. I listened to it and I started to notice the different patterns, like the language patterns and things like that. I didn't realize it, but I was actually learning how to do self-hypnosis. So I would, if any of you have ever been on a farm, you probably have heard of a hay-mow or hay loft. And one of my jobs as a kid was I would have to climb up into this hay loft and throw down bales of hay. And I would use that as an opportunity to be away from everyone and everything. And I would do self-hypnosis on myself to calm myself down. Fast forward through a very turbulent teenage and young adult life. In 2005, this is another story that most people have heard of. I was physically and sexually assaulted, and I had post-traumatic stress disorder. One of the practitioners that I sought out was a hypnotherapist. And that, in addition to a lot of other modalities that helped me to overcome those symptoms, was incredibly transformational. So hypnosis entered my life again. And I really latched onto it that time, that and EFT and a lot of different energy modalities to do some very, very deep, deep healing. And what I found was that hypnosis had like a special place in my heart because it literally was healing me. And fast forward another couple of years, surprise, surprise, and this is why I'm dedicating this to my children and my son Eden, I found out I was pregnant. And I'll just say, it was not wanted. I was so distraught. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. My long-term boyfriend and I had just split up 2 weeks earlier. I never wanted to have children. I had a terrible childhood. I was absolutely convinced that living life was the most awful, horrible thing ever. And I did not want to be responsible for making another human being go through it. So there were some not so pleasant words that came out of my mouth directed at God when I found out that I was pregnant. Luckily, it shifted almost instantaneously. The moment that like my nerves settled and reality just set in, like, no, I'm going to be the most incredible mother ever. I'm not going to be anything like my parents. And I that was a decision, a committed decision that I made, and I stuck to that. I tell you what, I love my children so much. But when I was pregnant with my son, I was managing a cell phone store at the time, and I hated it. And I remember thinking to myself, there is absolutely no way that I'm going to send this baby, my baby, off to some stranger, daycare, whatever, to raise my son while I'm working at this job that I absolutely hate. And I decided I'm going to do business and I'm going to do it right because I had so many failed attempts in the past. And that is actually what led me to get my certification as a hypnotherapist and open my hypnotherapy practice in 2010, which is really like what got me to where I am today with an international company that supports business owners all over the world. So I think there's a couple of takeaways there, but I have to say that, the universe brings us exactly what we need. And sometimes we don't see the full impact of it initially, but looking back in retrospect, I am so incredibly grateful for the gift that hypnosis has been for me, my clients, my family. Just last night, my son was struggling coming up with a story that he had to tell for school. And I did a little hypnosis exercise with him to get him out of his funk and open up into a state of receptivity. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story, Alicia. I just barely got my makeup on and now it's coming off. So we'll redo this. But I just, the thing that I love about you, Alicia, is that I remember one of the first things that you said when we spoke was like you were the person that no one would have bet on, that no one would have said, oh yeah, she's going to go somewhere. She's going to do good things. And here you are doing good things and incredible with yourself, incredible mother, incredible in supporting others in their journey. And I think that is the ultimate healing when you can't just get to a place where you're dealing with your own life, but then you're able to contribute something to others. So thank you for the journey that you've been on and for the commitments that you made. It is such a gift to us all.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much, Adriana.
Absolutely. So I know that people are going to want to connect with you. What's the best way for them to do that?
Just find me on my website, aliciacramer.com. Reach out to me.
Perfect. I highly recommend you do. Not only is Alicia great at what she does? She has a wonderful podcast, and there's so much depth to this woman. You're going to find there's lots of conversations and collaborations that could come out of it. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Alicia, and for being so vulnerable.
It is my pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope I inspired a couple of people.
Absolutely. I want to remind everyone that your story matters, and the journey that you've been on, it's not only for you, but it's also for others. And if you would like to share your story in our next book, The Younger Self Letters, we are asking successful entrepreneurs to peel back the veil and share from their hearts so that we can create a community that values stories and learns from each other. Until next time, here is to appreciating the beautiful synchronicities. Like you said, we are so loved and supported. Until next time, bye.